Call of the Wenton King. He's reviewing Aqualung. We could sing and play the guitar at the same time. This would be good. But it isn't. Yes, hello and welcome. We're doing Jethro Tull. It's Jethro Tull. The run we're doing is going to be a bit weird. I wanted to do 7 albums, and that's why we've delayed it for so long, really, because we can't do 7 albums. That would be silly.
They're not Camel, for crying out loud, Kev.
Because I like Jethro Tull a lot. So we might as well tell you what albums we're doing now. We're going to do Thick as a Brick, but Disappointment Mode. We're not going to do Passion Play. Okay, so we're doing Thick as a Brick next week, and then we're going to do Minstrel, and then we're going to do one of the Folk Trilogy albums. I can't choose, so we'll just choose one at random at the last minute. Okay, so yeah, I'm a massive Jethro Tull fan. I think they're the most fantastic band ever, and yet I didn't discover them as a young man. In that they kind of go into the same category as some of the other bands I listened to as a teenager, like Led Zeppelin. Although they're a bit more sophisticated, they in essence go with that, and for whatever reason I didn't discover them till much later. This is I think it's their most famous album. I don't know if Thick as a Brick 2 brought Thick as a Brick back into consciousness. It may have done. It is not their definitive album, it is not their best album. It is a very good album, but it is overstated how significant it is in their catalogue, I think, in that the best was still to come. It got them on the radio a lot, though, and if you hear Jethro Tull on the radio, it will be either Aqualung or Locomotive Breath, basically. It won't be anything else, which is fine because they're good songs. This is their 4th album. Obviously they started out as a blues band and then went in a completely different direction when the guitarist left and Ian Anderson took control and obviously decided, imitating something from thousands of miles away wasn't his thing, and it became a folk thing. There is a suggestion at this point, this is when the folk thing started really properly. That's what Ian Anderson thinks anyway. And there's something to be said for Stand Up as well. Maybe, I don't know, there's more electric guitar riffing on it or something, I don't know. The music's still quite simple. The prog links are still to come, actually. And obviously that's a thing we'll talk about whether they're prog or whether they stop being prog and all that. But so the music's still quite simple, actually, and it got more complex, sort of got more complex through the 70s, pretty much. So these are straight ahead rock songs, straight ahead folk rock songs, and you've got all the classics on there like Cross-Eyed Mary, etc. For me, knowing it so well, knowing every note and all that stuff, it's the folkier songs I enjoy the most. I mean, Cheap Day Return, which is about just over a minute, I think it's fantastic. I love stuff like that. Mother Goose, Wond'ring Aloud as well. Brilliant songs. My God is a proper classic. Locomotive Breath, I always felt was a bit contrived in that it was deliberately designed to be a live thing, and they continue to play it live for 40 years or whatever it was. But it's still a good song. It's very un-Tull though, really, because it is incredibly simple. Yes. Oh, and it was recorded, of course, at Headley Grange, like The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, but also like Led Zeppelin 4, at the same time as Led Zeppelin 4. And in fact, supposedly Led Zeppelin got the little room, and Jethro Tull got the big room, because they need a bigger room for all their things. I don't know, all their instruments or something, I don't know. The thing about Headley Grange is, it sounds crap. I'm sorry, it sounds crap, Headley Grange. The Lamb does not have great production for me. That's why I like the archive version, because I hate that scratchy sound. Led Zeppelin 4 is something very special, where they had so much mojo that it just magicked onto the recording. And if you listen to it, it does sound the same as this. The horrible scratchy sound is there, but you have to think about it, because it sounds awesome for some reason. And this suffered massively. And the impression I get is that over the years it's slowly been improved a bit more. But it still sounds scratchy and horrible compared to the other albums, particularly the stuff that came after. I mean, Stand Up isn't exactly a great sounding record either, really.
It's a good album, isn't it? I mean, there's a bit of controversy over this album, over whether it's a concept album or not.
Yeah.
Which Ian Anderson says no.
It isn't,
so
is it?
It isn't, no.
Or it's 2 concept sides, which it isn't either. There's Aqualung and there's My God. And a couple of things on My God, maybe-ish. Not really.
I do like this album. In fact, the first time I ever listened to it, I really liked it. And then on subsequent listens, I kind of, and then I went, and then it grew on me again.
That's interesting.
Well, I know, yeah. I think the reason it's widely considered a concept album is because it's at a point in their career where you would expect them to do a concept album, because they've really got their stuff together. They are ace musicians and writers at this point, and everything sounds really well crafted. The acoustic instruments work really well, and it makes it sound not proggy at all. They are considered one of the big prog bands, but
at this point they weren't proggy.
Yeah, you listen to this, you wouldn't.
It's folk rock, isn't it?
No,
Yeah.
I think there may be a little bit of a link with Genesis, perhaps, because Genesis, they got a pastoral sound.
I suppose so, yeah.
And obviously with the folkiness, it sounds quite pastoral, but they're much better at making music than Genesis. I think Genesis, maybe they had a much stronger vision of what they wanted the band to be,
rather than the actual just writing songs.
Yeah, rather than just writing songs. But actually, the lyrics on this album in particular, they're quite intelligent lyrics, quite clever, but they're not bash you over the head sort of thing. So the subjects of the songs are dealing with things that, I'm going to mention Yes again, that Yes would like to deal with.
Yeah, but instead just talk words.
Yeah, but with humour, none of the...
Yeah, it's very self-aware and it's very intelligent, isn't it? It's kind of above that in that they're in control. Because it's Ian Anderson, obviously, not John Anderson.
They're striking the right tone with some, I suppose they're weighty subjects that you probably wouldn't expect rock to deal with, straight rock to deal with anyway.
That's true,
and that probably gives it a slightly proggy edge as well. But it's a pretty solid
collection of songs.
Yeah, solid collection of songs.
Like in some ways, Rumours is a solid collection of songs. Like FM radio, the 70s stuff, all that stuff, those bands in a way. But I think for me, it's melodic. It's the melodies really, and songwriting, but the melodies, and that's what carries it through. And that's Ian Anderson writes all of it really, and it's his writing ability, his compositional ability, which makes it so fantastic. It's the tunes literally, and I like the European sensibility, the Renaissance stuff, that stuff, the folkiness. I've always loved that in prog. So a band that really does that a lot is fantastic. It's such a wonderful thing because I like that type of melody rather than pentatonic stuff, I suppose.
I'm not over. I mean, to be brilliant, I'm not a big folk fan, and the flute is as as sort of like a main instrument is not really my thing, but it works.
Yeah, it does work. Yeah. Whereas I am a folk person, as I discovered in my mid-20s. Really, I didn't really know I was a folk person, but it turns out I really like folk music, or European folk music particularly. Less so American folk music, I suppose. Country is one of the very few things that I the feel of it, the sound of it makes me sort of. Not many types of music I don't like, although we seem to talk about as much as we can.
Yeah. So yeah, it's can you say it's a classic?
Aqualung, and yes, we've got to work out eggs, haven't we? How many eggs do you give it? There's only two options of these things.
It's a 5-egg. It's a 5-egg album for me.
It is a 5-egg album, right? Yeah, it's 5 eggs. So 5 eggs. There you go. That was Aqualung. It almost felt like it wasn't worth reviewing. Never mind. We'll see you next week for Thick as a Brick.